Go ahead, Steve.
All right, very good. Thank you everyone for attending. Let me share my screen here. So pretty light agenda today, but some important things to kind of cover. Um, Samina covered the video recording disclaimer. First order is really just the approval of the prior meeting minutes. Unfortunately, most of you probably didn't get a chance to read this because it was literally checked in probably 15 minutes ago. But again, this is all verbatim from the Google Doc that's been out there for the last month. So because we have a Google Doc, the Markdown translator. But these are the meeting minutes from last time. Are there any objections to the minutes as they stand? All right. Let's go back to the agenda then. Um, I don't see any new attendees. No, pretty light today. Um, Announcements. Yeah.
Notes. I started writing something, but
Maybe I can put on the chat the link to the notes. If you could add it there, that would be great.
yeah.
Thank you.
Announcements.
Announcements.
Announcements. A couple new feature working groups have kicked off for CycloneDX 1.7. The groups that have kicked off are the threat modeling bill of materials group. So that group has met, I believe, 3 times. They meet bi-weekly. And this group is we've assembled the individuals who write the books. We've assembled the open source projects and the commercial companies that support the threat modeling industry, both from a security and privacy and safety perspective. So that work is ongoing. It's going well. So nothing too big to report other than it's just one big work in progress. The second group is actually kicking off tomorrow. This is the Blueprints group. So Blueprints is a concept in CycloneDX 1.7 that kind of describes it describes 2 things. It describes the architecture and it describes the behaviors. So architecture, we're not trying to reinvent UML or anything like that, but this is more of an abstract concept. And then behaviors really describe what the application does or is supposed to do versus what it actually is doing. So both of those are really going to be useful for the defenders who are really the first line of defense for application security or product security in their respective organizations. The third group, I believe, is that kicking off today? Yeah, it actually is. A couple hours from now. The OSS Sustainability Group is actually meeting for the very first time later today. And that group is going to be really focused on the sustainability of open source projects and how we can try to capture a lot of the details about how to give back to open source projects now that SBOMs will be more widely available and traded and produced in build pipelines. So providing a lot more transparency on how organizations can give back, as well as some other type of events, such as maybe the project has been no longer maintained. Very basic summary information. We're not trying to reinvent the common lifecycle enumeration, but we're just trying to capture some summary information that would be applicable to the CRA. So those 3 groups are kind of in progress. Does anyone else have any announcements?
I would say that just for information, the OWASP Common Lifecycle Enumeration Working Group is moving on. It's separate from CycloneDX, but it will probably be part of CycloneDX as well as the T API.
Yeah, the CLE, good point. The CLE, I believe once we get to a specific point, I believe I mentioned this previously that, I'm going to be recommending that CLE be a formal task group within this TC. We're not quite there yet, but I think we are getting close. A lot of the challenges, I think, have been around scope, because we could obviously boil the ocean, but that doesn't really solve anybody's problems. So I think once the scope and a clear vision for what that final deliverable is actually going to be, once that's solidified, then I think it's going to be a good, and I think we're close to being there. I think it'll be good for us to then bring that into the TC, but I will invite, during that time, I will invite the co-leader of that project to kind of present the work that we've been doing over there. Ole, did you want to kind of give us an update on perhaps what we are, where we are with the community work that will eventually be, part of TG1?
Yeah. Can I share a couple of slides?
Absolutely.
Have a short presentation. Oh, I'm allowed. Amazing. Let me do like this instead. Hang on. Computers, they're complex. So, do you see anything?
Yes.
So basically, the Transparency Exchange API, we've been having a number of meetings and a couple of workshops. What we're trying to do is an API that is kind of CycloneDX and document agnostic in the first part. The second part, we're going to have much more, I would say, integration into various SBOMs and being able to query SBOMs. But the important thing is to automate for people who have systems like dependency track or similar, the retrieval of SBOMs and other artifacts for their products. Because we can't have people logging into different systems, downloading to hard disk, and uploading in another system. That doesn't scale and doesn't give the automation we want, especially for stuff that constantly should update, like VEX files. And yeah, we're part of Ecma, of course. The starting point is a user that bought something and will need to find the documents. I'm moving fast here, so stop me if you have questions. We have been working on discovery using DNS. We're going to register a URN, a specific URN for this. And we can have many types here, including package URLs or other systems like the EN barcodes or others in the type field. And you use that and use DNS to find a web server. And in the web server, you find a product index. And in the product index, you find what we right now call leaf indexes. We've been working on terminology and object model. So the T-leaf index contains all the versions that you have for a product. And for each version, you have something we call the T collection, which is an index of the artifacts we have for that specific version of a product. And that could be, of course, SBOM files, but also European Union certificate of compliance or in total attestations or other things like manuals or other attestations for various vertical industries like the medical industry. The API will also support publication and digital signatures. So you can publish a document, declare which versions and which product that this applies to, and the server will take care of updating the collections. So if you have an SBOM, you need to get T. Haha, we're funny. So that's basically it. Where we are. We've been working a lot on the object model. We have a lot of documentation, and we're working on an open API specification as well. So with that, people can generate implementations and test scripts and other things. We're invited to talk at Marama with CISA in Denver in September. So we're happy for that. And we're going to have a larger meeting in the beginning of October where we invite vendors to listen in and see what we're doing together with Dependency Track.
Who's going to be, I think so, who's going to be doing the presentations for Espamarama?
Yeah, I haven't seen OWASP write me a check for the flight. So Alan asked me to do it remotely. The backup will be Anthony Harrison, who's going to be on site. I just had a meeting with him to go through the material.
Ah, okay. Awesome.
So we have a plan.
I'm going to try to be there.
Oh, great. Sorry I can't be there to meet you, but Anthony is
no
looking
worries.
forward to it. Next
I
time.
don't think I've actually met Anthony in person. I don't think he was at the last RSA SBOM event. So, yeah, I don't think I met him in person actually.
Ole, a question.
Yep.
If I may. Thank you for the slides. The work that you have talked about and the scope, this part of TG1?
This is the community work that will be handed over to TG1. I can share with you. Hang on. I just wrote more. Steve and I had a discussion the other day and said that we need to define the difference, exactly what you ask, between the community work and TG1.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my proposal, right? That the TG1 will take input from the community working group and forward it to become a standard within Ecma. Mm-hmm. TG1 will send any changes for the protocol or object model that really affects the thing. But the TG1 may apply non-normative changes like formats, commas, other things.
Yeah,
but that's my proposal. No one else has seen this before this meeting, so.
Very good. And we have a number of invited experts, and we'll follow the process that we have to have our experts come in. With the royalty-free.
Yeah, I think we need to find some other folks that are either existing ECMA members or large organizations that have a vested interest in supporting.
I think the meeting in October will help us do that.
Okay. That's KoalaCon?
Yeah, KoalaCon. That sounds impressive. But my proposal that I sent you in Slack was to have an interim board or group formed so we can start the formal work and then come back and have the real one when we start submitting actual documents.
Right. Right now, I am the convener of that group.
The TG1.
Of TG1 because we lack any other ECMA members. So
that's
hopefully
what I
that can
suggested. I suggested you be the convener, and I was hoping that you wouldn't kill me for it. And I suggested that John become
just delegate.
Member. John became a member, and I was the invited expert in the interim group. And then we'll expand or change as we move along, but when the real work starts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the human consumable documentation right? That's really going to be the job of the TG to kind of create that, right?
But
Because
I heard that
that's ultimately the
someone in
standard.
ServiceNow created some awesome scripts.
It's buggy, but and it doesn't work with OpenAPI.
No,
But
okay.
yeah, so
I just had a lesson on OpenAPI with Anthony, so we're hoping to. I mean, there are converters that produce PDFs from OpenAPI spec, so we can
yeah,
do
I think
something similar.
my recommendation is to based on, well, one, CycloneDX is big, right? It's a pretty big chunk of JSON. So we had to automate that because there was really no choice. We could not manually do that. But in the case of the Transparency Exchange API, this is all greenfield, and the TG should be creating this document from scratch.
Yeah. Most of it today is Markdown, so we can start testing, producing something, the Word files for Ecma with Pandoc and other things.
Okay. That leads me to then a question, maybe for Samina. I know TC39 was looking at some alternatives. Do we have any update on that?
I do not. I apologize. We had a TC39 plenary at the end of July, and I'm sorry, I will have to follow up on that.
No worries,
Steve.
No worries. Okay. We've got a long way to go for that, so we'll keep everything in Markdown for the time being, and hope we can get a solution kind of in place by the time that we're ready.
Yep.
But let me know when you think would be a good time for us to start collaborating with them and start testing.
Okay, so it's all in Markdown, correct? In for TC54. Yeah. Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah. I think the last order, is just scheduling the TG1 calls. That has not been done yet.
And TG2.
So yeah, TG2 still needs to be done as well. I haven't got the TG2 yet for the but yeah, we need to schedule the TG1 calls. And you know, I don't know how often we want to meet. Maybe it's
every
once
second
a month.
Tuesday after a full moon in northern Sweden.
Fantastic.
That was recorded.
Is it something that never happens?
No, it may happen. You never know.
Every couple 100 years.
But no meetings during the winter because it's dark. So
yeah.
Anyway.
All right, let's get that on the books.
But we'll agree on something, but we don't need that many meetings to start with, but at least something. So.
No, definitely not.
We'll take it over chat and then we'll publish it. But
yeah,
we have the TC54 Slack channel. Over to Philip.
Yes, two things on my side. So first, I've posted a link in the chat, and we probably want to paste it also in the minutes for reference. There's this group. It's on for the announcement side, the Open Regulatory Compliance Working Group, which has been started by Eclipse, which is a group of open source foundation and coalition of the willings.
You know that OWASP is a member of that group.
Yeah, no, of course. Okay. I know that OWASP is a member. I just wanted to bring it to attention because the work that's being standardized here is highly relevant to their concerns.
Oh yeah.
And so just wanted to make sure that everybody's aware of this. And the second thing I wanted to bring up is
open regulatory compliance. It's basically the CRA mandates a lot of things from open source, and this group will kind of tackle that and propose ways forward. But another problem is that CRA you can certify with what they call a harmonized standard, and most of them cost a lot of money. It's typically SINS and ELEC or other standards. So this group is looking into developing an open and freely available standard for open source projects. So I really want the TAPI and package URLs and other things to be in there. So exactly as Philip says, it's important to monitor that group.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it goes beyond the CRA. To give an example, there was a series of posts on the Apache Software Foundation DSF legal mailing list a couple of days ago, where someone from a company legal department was asking the ASF for an export compliance number for Apache, for a suite of Apache software projects. And so it's really a compliance matter, and it's cryptography, it's export laws, it's complex. And of course, it's not something that the Apache Foundation will ever do, but you need to be prepared for this kind of compliance and regulatory questions to be amplified tenfold with CRAs and executive orders in the US and the PLD directive and so on and so on.
If you look at my T presentations, there's a reason why I have the EU certificate of compliance with CRA mentioned in a number of places.
Yeah. And so the second thing I wanted to discuss is the schedule for starting TG2 calls. I was expecting initially, but I didn't start it this Friday, but I wanted to start it probably next Friday. And at the beginning, have it maybe once every 2 weeks for a couple months to make sure we have a reasonably dense starting point. And I don't know what would be the best time, but the time of this meeting is actually fairly convenient because it can work for pretty much everywhere on the planet. It's late in Asia, early in the US, on the West Coast, decent on the West Coast, and not a problem in Europe.
Is it 5 p.m. for you right now?
No, right now it's just 5 p.m. Yes, so it would
5
be
p.m., right? Okay.
It would be either 4:30 p.m. European time or 4 p.m. either way works.
Yeah,
4 p.m. starts a bit early for US West Coast, but I think they can make an exception. It's Friday.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to schedule it from 4 to 5?
For first meeting, 4 to 5 would be good, and then we probably go to 30 minutes afterwards and focusing. Once we can dispatch some work among the participants, focusing more on the status report for these calls.
Yeah. And you want to have them every 2 weeks?
Excuse me?
Every 2 weeks?
Yeah, every 2 weeks for a start.
Okay, got it.
And next week is good because it's not Memorial Day, so we'll be bypassing Memorial Day in the US holiday, so that's good. No, Labor Day, sorry. Labor Day, Memorial Day, yeah. That's Labor Day.
Okay.
And Holly, somebody else was saying something?
Yeah, I was just trying to say that there's been a lot of package URL discussions in the SBOM forum. You should be aware of.
Yeah.
Focusing a lot on the SWID.
Yeah, so that's one thing to consider. I guess the work you're doing on the T API is also something to consider and relate. Make sure we have something that's harmonious.
Absolutely.
There's also a bigger problem that I brought up, I think, last time I joined this group, and I'll join on a regular basis going forward, by the way, which is the lack of compliance with the the spec we have today is problematic. And when I say lack of compliance, is the fact that tool vendors, even though they have access to a fairly well-defined spec and a lot of implementation in different language that are compliant, end up taking a lot of freedom about what they do with it. It's a problem because if you don't have the right identifier, any lookup in a vulnerability database will be like
we want to be strict and catch those and try to correct those, because we don't want this to go the same way as the CPE, which is not usable at all right now, right?
Yeah.
So we have to catch those cases and have a handle those issues and clean them up.
Yeah. So I have a couple of ideas on how to solve that, and part of it's going to be to solve that as part of this the standardization work here in this spec and group. Part of it's going to be also to provide some potential catalog of all known package URLs or a service that can compute these to make sure that you have a way to look up these easily, or a data set that's downloadable and usable by all these tools. So there's a better way to do that. I always resisted to have something which would be anyway centralized. So we have to find a better way than centralization there. But it's a bit troublesome that well-known open source and commercial tools essentially do not agree at all on what is the package URL for some base packages. And they all use package URLs, but in a slightly different way. And the slightly different way is devilish because, again, for a primary use case, which is lookup in a vulnerability database, if you don't have the right identifier, you're toast.
Indeed.
So that's all things we can discuss and resolve. That's part of this the discussion here.
Yep. I will get the, I posted a link to one such proposal that we can talk about, but I will get the meeting scheduled, Philippe, and on the OWASP supply chain shared calendar later today.
Great. One thing from a very... Go ahead. Yeah, one thing in terms of practical and logistics is, do we use your Zoom? Will you be joining? That's the question, Steve.
We can just use the ServiceNow Zoom. There's no strict formalities on, that the secretariat needs to be there, that we have to use Ecma record. I mean, we're going to record the sessions just like we normally do, right?
Makes sense.
But it's a little less formal.
Okay.
However, the convener of that really needs to do the presentations back to the TC. So it's kind of how it works. And I believe you're the convener of that now that you are an Ecma member, correct?
Exactly. So okay. I'll hone my skills to my convening skills to make sure they're at the very best when I start using them.
Very good. Great, Philippe. I'm really looking forward to getting those calls off the ground. So this is
definitely,
fantastic.
Definitely.
Good. Does anyone have any other new business announcements, etc., that they'd like to bring forward?
This is Samina, just a very short, simple announcement. So first, to everybody on the call, congratulations. As you know, the first edition was approved at the end of the GA at the end of June, and since then we've been tracking the downloads because it's from our website anyhow. So just in the month of July, there were 62 downloads of the 1.6.
Nice. Great. Thank you.
Great.
I need to go on my side. So, go ahead.
We had some formalities here. I don't know where we are in the agenda, but I tried to clean it up in the protocol. But for TG1, do we make a decision about convener and members? I had a proposal there for an interim group.
Well, I mean, for a convener, it will have to be me for the
Yeah,
time being.
yeah.
Hopefully we
But
can get
just so
another
we have
ECMA
that in the
member involved.
protocol. But should we force John to be a member of that working group as a member as well? And
Jan?
yeah,
Um,
or should it be just you and
it's
me to start with?
that's up to Jan. I mean, I don't know if he's attended all of them or not.
This is the boring
Oh, this is
working
the
group.
this is the boring working
TG1.
group. Yeah,
Yeah.
Jan loves boring work.
Okay. So, I mean, we just formally, can we make a decision to say Steve Springett is convener, John is a member, Ole is an invited expert, and that's the interim working group?
Yeah, it's already. I mean, I'm already the convener of the TG1 anyway.
Okay. So for
because we didn't have anyone
TG2,
else.
do we have any members of that group for to be
Philippe, I
formal and
believe.
boring? Yeah, Philip is the convener.
Yeah, I believe that is true.
And do
Do
you
we
have
have
members
any
for
other people we can place in that group formally?
Well, I'm going to be in that group, but Philippe is going to be leading that
Yeah.
effort, obviously. But no, I think, one of the interesting things about Pearl is that, pretty much everybody uses it right now.
Okay.
And
No, I was just trying to stay on formalities because according to Ecma, this working group, TC54, needs to appoint the members of the TGs. So we just need to have that in the protocol. That's why I'm being a bit strict and formal.
So the TC needs to appoint the members of the TGs? Is that
may,
invite experts.
may I?
Okay, yeah.
Thank you. So for the TGs, it is important that your conveners are members of Ecma, and as you have already done that.
Yeah.
As you build your group and the members within those TGs, as conveners, you have the privilege to do that as you see fit. If you want to bring in invited experts, non-members of Ecma, then they need to fill in the appropriate invited experts form for that Ecma has, but you do need that invited experts to be approved by the TG chair so that and your overall TC that everybody's aware who's involved. So that would be the formality.
So in terms of existing ECMA members that maybe you're not participating in any of the existing efforts, but maybe want to, what would be the process for them? Say the Microsofts or some other organization that is an ECMA member.
They can just join a member of ECMA can participate in any TC and the work of that TC. So if there are other members
and the TGs
and the TG, yes, it works down. So as you may have interest from those other organization members, they may join.
Got it. Okay, no, that makes
sense. So
it's
invited experts that have to be approved by the TC.
Correct.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad we got that clarity. Okay. Any other announcements? New business?
No, just one thing, Steve. Once you have the URL for, you can share the details for the Zoom call. Then I can promote it with some folks. So at least we have some folks that show up, and we can decide who wants to join formally. Then after this first meeting too.
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and create an agenda too for that kickoff call, and send that over to me if you could.
Yeah, will do. You want to keep that in the single document?
Well, we should probably, I think we had a place in the TC54 Ecma. Yeah, we actually have a repo specifically for that, Philippe. I'll put it in the Zoom chat.
Yeah, no, I see the repo.
Okay. Yeah, so go ahead and if you want to put like a directory in there for like a minutes or meetings, for example, like kind of like we have for the TC, I think that would be a good pattern to follow.
Great.
Okay.
Makes perfect sense.
Awesome. Well, I don't have anything else. So with that, I think we can give everybody 19 minutes of their life back.
Can I have
Whatever
a
it
quick
is.
question, please?
Sure.
So is there also a repo for TG1? And I apologize, I
Yes.
should know, but I don't.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes,
Excellent.
there is. And I have access to it as well.
Okay. Could
Yep.
you put it on the chat?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And Ole, if you have a chance, if you could share your slides that you presented earlier on the community work with me, that would be great, so I can reference it in the minutes.
I will.
Thank you.
I added a link to a larger presentation that exists in our repository to the minutes. But
Okay,
this smaller one, I'll send you.
Thank you.
All right. Very good. Have a great rest of your day. And I will post the video to this once it's available.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Cheers.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye now.